Hello viewers, welcome to the next video in the tutorial series for Yii framework. In this video, we are going to discuss about query builder. Okay, so let's first recap what we have discussed in the last tutorial. In the last tutorial, we have discussed about non-select queries, configuring table prefix and transactions using data access object. Right, in this video what we are going to cover, query builder. So it's another way of writing the SQL queries when you are using Yii framework. Okay, so let's delve deep into it. Okay, so first, what is query builder? So query builder is a programmatic way of writing the SQL queries, and it's DBMS agnostic way. What does this mean? This means that if you change the underlying database, so for example right now we are using MySQL, right? So let's say if we want to change it to MS SQL, right? Then even your code would not change and your system would work fine. So that is what meant by DBMS agnostic way. Okay, now I would go into the example and I would start explaining about how we can use query builder in Yii framework. Okay, so this is a controller which I have written. It's called builder controller. Okay, what I have done is, in the previous tutorial we have executed these queries, right, using database access object. Now in this tutorial what I have done is, I have used the same queries, but now here I have written it using query builder, so that you can easily compare the difference between the two. Okay, so the very first function which is there is action all. So we are trying to get all the records from the table. Okay, so the very first thing what you have to do, you have to instantiate this class, right? This actually represents a SQL statement, right? Now you call the select function on it, and you are passing the columns which you want to select, same as we are writing in the raw SQL queries like select star, right? So I am selecting the star over here. Then we call the from function, and then we are passing the table name. You can pass the table name same as we passed in database access object, and then we are calling the all function. So here when we are using database access object, we are calling the query all function, right? Here we are calling the all function. So now let's look at the output on the browser. Okay, so I would say builder slash all, right? So we have got 4 records which are there into the client table right now. Okay, now let's learn how we can do the variation in these select parameters. Okay, so one way is you can pass this as string, another way is you can pass this as an array. So right now if I change it to array, it should work fine. So let's look at the output. Okay, so here I can do name, email, right? And then see what happens. Okay, so now we are only getting name and email in the result set. So similarly, what you can do, you can pass name and email like this. So if we are using string format, then you can pass name and email like this. So this works fine. Next, let's say I want to select status column as well. One way is I can select the status here, and if I refresh the screen, I have the status with me. But there is another way of doing it, and it is like from this, oh no, sorry, here. So you can say add select, and you can pass the column same as you are passing into the select function. So I can just pass status over here, and now refresh the screen. See, so we have got the status. So this is another way of selecting the columns. This would be required mainly, like for example, you cannot select the column in the first in the select function, but you want to add some column in the select based on some condition. So in those cases, this would be used. Okay. Next, the variation in the from function. So right now I am passing the table name like this, right? I can pass the table name in an array as well. So I can pass like this. Then let's say you have another table name, so you can pass like this. But if you are using string format and you have to pass another table, then you would select simply another table over here. So this is like when you are selecting multiple tables in row equal statement. Okay, then we are calling the order by clause, right? So let's see how the result, how to use order by and how the result varies based on that. So right now the output that we are getting is name and email, right? Now I would just place an order by. Okay, now you can pass in string format and array format. So in string format you would do like this. So name DSC, email ASC, ascending order. So name in the descending order and email in the ascending order. Now let's refresh the screen. Okay, so name is in the descending order and emails are then ordered by in ascending order. Okay, this is one way. Another way is you can pass like this. So array, and then you can say name. So key is name, value is sort descending, or I would just right now say ascending, and email as the key, which is the column we have, and then this would be sort underscore descending. So now let's refresh the screen. See, so you can use order by in this way. Okay, moving ahead, index by. So right now when we are getting the output, right, the results are indexed by this integer values. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Now let's say you want to index based on some column. So you would say index by and then you would pass the column name. So now let's say I want to index by name, right? So see, so here now this result set is indexed by name. Okay, moving ahead, let's talk about limit and offset. So limit is used to limit the number of results that we are getting in the result set, and offset is like how much you want to deviate from the start or from the end, right? So here I am saying limit 2, right? So let's refresh the screen. So we are getting the two results, 0 and 1. Okay, now let's say I add offset, right? So add 1. It means leave the first result and start picking from the second result. So we get the roughly as the first result in the result set. Moving ahead, let's talk about function 1. So in the previous tutorial, right, in this action 1 function we are using query 1. Now when we are using query builder, we have to use this function. So select star from this table where, so here I am providing the where condition. So id is equals to colon id, and then we are binding the parameters to it. So id equal to 1. So now let's see the result on the browser. So I'm saying 1. Okay, so I'm getting the first result. I'm getting the result corresponding to id 1. Okay, this is one way of providing the where condition. There is another, so this is called string format, right? Next one is a hash format. So in that, what you do, you simply say id equal to 1. So let's say you have more columns in the where clause, so you can pass over here. So id equal to 1, right? So now let's see the result. So same result. Now let's say if I pass the name, so here I would say name, and then I would say Harry Potter, and then let's refresh the browser. See, I get the result. So this is called hash format, right? Now there is another way, another format actually, which is called operator format. So in that format, what you have to do, so let's say I want to select uh, name which is like Harry Potter. So I'm using the like in MySQL. So what, how I have to provide that format over here? So I would say like name Harry. Okay, and now let's see the result. So I get the result over here. So it is like you are saying where name like percent Harry in raw SQL. So these are the variations in the format of where clause. Now let's say you have added the where condition, right? And I want to add more condition to the where clause, right? But I cannot do that in the initial where clause that I am providing, right? And based on some condition I want to add another clause to the where. So how would I do that? So in such cases, what you can do, so you can use and where function, right? And the same formats you can pass as the params to this function. So here I would just pass name Harry Potter. So I'm just providing the and where function. Okay, now let's see the result. So I have got the result over here. So this is how you can use the and where. Now let's say you're writing this query, right, using a query builder, and you want to print the SQL statement and the params corresponding to it, right, which you are passing in the where clause. So how would you do that? So you can do that in this way. So I would just comment this code and I would uncomment this code. Okay, so here you have written the query using query builder, and then you call the create command function on it, which would return you the command object, and then you can call, you can print the SQL and the corresponding params. So now let's look at the output on the browser. Okay, here it should be like this. Okay, so this is the SQL query. Select star from TBL client where ID is :qp0 and then qp0 is set as 1, which we have provided over here. So this is how you can print the SQL statements and params. It would be very helpful when you got into some issue and you want to print the SQL statement and want to check, okay, what are the params that are passed to the query. Okay, moving ahead, let's talk about the column function, right, which is actually the first column in the result set. So so in the previous tutorial in the query controller we are calling the column function here query column, right? Here you just have to call the column like this. So now let's look at the output on the browser. So I would say column. So you get the IDs, which is the first column in the result set. Okay, next one is the scalar. So first row, first column. So the value for that. Okay, so it should be actually 1, right? So scalar. So we have got the value as 1. Okay, okay. Query builder provides another function called count. So let's say you want to get the count of some particular query, count of the result set, right? So you simply have to call the count function over here like this. Okay, so select a star from TBL client and get the count for it in the result. So let's see the output. So we have 4 records right now. So I would just say count. Okay, so we have got the output as 4. Okay, moving ahead, let's talk about joins. I hope you all are familiar with joins in MySQL. Okay, so query builder provides actually 4 functions. One is join, another one is inner join, another one is left join, and the last one is the right join, right? So you can call the join in this way. So I would just comment this line right now. So we are instantiating the query, then we are writing the query using query builder, and then we are joining with the project table. So actually I have created another table in the database TBL project, which are having the columns as name and the client ID, and ID is obviously there as auto increment. So these are the manual values which I have entered. So client ID 1 and client ID, let's say I keep it as 2 right now. Okay, so if I am not using inner join function, I am using the join function. So I am saying query join of type inner join. So here you can have left join or you can have right join. So this is the type. So I'm passing inner join project TBL project P, and then we are passing the on clause. So on c.id equal to p dot client id, and we are getting all the results. So now let's see the output on the browser. So I would change it to join. So we have got the 2 results, right? Because client id 1 is Harry Potter and client ID 2 is Ruffy, right? So we have got the 2 results. Okay, so now I'm just commenting this line and I'm commenting this one. So we can directly call the inner join function, and then we can pass the table name and the on clause, and let's see the output. So same output. Okay, now left join. So in left join, normally what happens is when we join 2 tables, right, we got all the results from the left table and got the matched result from the right table, right? But if there is no match in the right side table, right, then result would be null. So right now I'm just picking up the project name as well as column project name from client, then we are left joining it with project table, and this is the on clause. So right now the records that we have in the project table, right, for the client IDs we have the corresponding records in the client table, right? So now let's run the left join thing. So left hyphen join. Okay, so we have got all the results from the left side table, right? But in the right side we only have the 2 records, right, for client ID 1 and 2, but not for the remaining 2 which are there in the left column, left table, right? So for them project name comes as null, but for the first 2 we have got the project name. So this is about left join. Now right join. So right join is just the reverse of left join. In this we get all the columns, all the rows from the right side table, and we got the match result from the left side table. If there is no match in the left side table, then we would get the result as null, right? So here the from table is client, we are right joining it with project, right? So we get all the records corresponding to project. So we would only get 2 records and not 4. We would get only 2 records. And for the client IDs that are there in the project table, there are corresponding records in the client table, right? So let's see what's the output on the browser. So I would say right join. So we have got the 2 records only. Now let's change some data. Let's put up a client ID which doesn't exist. So I am putting it as 30, right? Okay, now let's refresh on the browser. So we have got all these columns as null, but we have got the project name as test2, because for client ID 30 there is no corresponding record in the client table. So this is how you can use the right join function. So what we have learned in this tutorial, okay, what is query builder, how to use the select function, how to use the from function, how to use the where function, and the different formats in which we can pass the where clause. Then about the end where function, we have discussed about order by, group by, using limit and offset. We have discussed about all these methods, all, one, column, scalar, and count. And then we have discussed about join, inner join, left join, and right join. So that's all for this video. I hope this tutorial is useful to you. In case you have any questions, you can contact us at info@tuitioninformatic.com, or you can post the comments in the comment section. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more such videos. Thank you very much.